Have you ever sat down with your morning cup of coffee and thought it was just there to wake you up? I used to think the same. But the deeper I dug into the research, and the more I worked with patients over 60, the more I realized coffee is actually a quiet companion silently protecting our muscles. Inside that dark liquid are over 1,000 bioactive compounds, and many of them work in ways most people never hear about. Coffee helps improve insulin sensitivity in your muscles, which basically means your muscles can open the door more easily to let nutrients in. Imagine this. You eat plenty of protein, you take your supplements, but if the muscle is locked tight, nothing gets in. That's why so many people feel weaker even though they are eating enough. Coffee also triggers something called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which helps keep the connection between your nerves and your muscles strong. When that connection weakens, your muscle doesn't shrink because it's broken, but because the signal isn't getting through. I once had a patient tell me, "Doc, my legs are still here," but they just won't listen to me. And you know what? One cup of coffee each day can be the first step toward keeping that vital line of communication alive. A lot of people think collagen is just about skin or hair, but the truth is collagen is also the scaffolding that holds your muscles together. Did you know about 10% of your muscle tissue is made of collagen? Think of it like the wooden frame of a house that keeps the walls sturdy, the beams connected, and it passes the strength down into your tendons and bones. Once we hit 60, our bodies make less than half the collagen we had at 30. By 70, production can drop by as much as 75%. I often tell my patients, you're trying to build a house of muscle. But without lumber, how do you expect it to stand? I remember Robert, 68, who came to me with hands so weak, he couldn't even open his own pill bottles. He started adding just 1 or 2 scoops of collagen peptides into his morning coffee. 6 weeks later, he came back, shook my hand firmly, and said with a grin, "Doc, I'm back to fixing little electrical jobs around the house." Not only had his strength returned, but even his nagging joint pain had eased by half. Here's the interesting part. When you mix collagen peptides into hot coffee, absorption improves by about 40%. And if you add a slice of lemon or take it with a bit of vitamin C, the effect is even stronger. Simple, isn't it? Yet it gives your body back the very building materials it's been craving to keep your muscles strong and steady. Have you ever felt like you're eating well, maybe even adding protein shakes, but your body still feels drained, like there's no strength left in the tank? Many of my patients over 60 tell me the same thing, and I often remind them muscle isn't just built from bricks and cement, it also needs energy to raise the house. That's where MCT oil comes in. MCT oil is a special kind of fat. When you add it to your morning coffee, it doesn't sit in your stomach for hours like regular fats. Within about 30 minutes, it's converted into ketones, a clean fuel that aging muscles actually prefer over sugar. I like to compare it to swapping regular gas for jet fuel in your engine. One study out of Japan really struck me. Just a single spoonful of MCT oil boosted growth hormone in older adults by up to 160%. I think of Patricia, 71, who was so weak, her daughter was planning to hire a caregiver. She began adding a teaspoon of MCT oil to her coffee each morning. 3 weeks later, she told me, "Doctor, I can climb the stairs without losing my breath." 2 months later, she was carrying grocery bags on her own again, no help needed. A small spoonful of MCT oil doesn't just make your coffee creamier and smoother. It gives your muscles a fast, powerful source of energy, the kind of energy that can make you feel alive again. When people hear the word creatine, they often picture young guys at the gym gulping it down to lift heavier weights. But I want you to see it differently. Creatine is actually one of the most important natural compounds for maintaining strength, and it becomes even more essential once we pass 60. Creatine isn't a drug, and it's not some synthetic hormone. It's something your body already makes, stored right inside your muscles and even your brain cells. When those reserves are full, every movement, standing up from a chair, carrying groceries, climbing stairs, feels lighter, easier. But as we age, those reserves run low, and suddenly the simplest tasks feel heavy. I'll never forget George, 74 years old. He once told me he was ready to sell his house because he no longer had the strength to mow the lawn or care for his garden. I suggested he add just 1 small teaspoon of creatine monohydrate to his morning coffee. 6 weeks later, he came back grinning, "Doc, I just mowed the whole yard without stopping once." Here's the fascinating part. When you take creatine with hot coffee, it actually absorbs better than with plain water. It dissolves, gets pulled right into your muscles, and you can feel the difference, even if you don't set foot in a gym. And there's another bonus your brain benefits too. With more fuel, memory sharpens, focus improves, and you feel clearer. One little scoop of creatine each morning, cheaper than a cafe coffee, can help give you back the strength you thought age had taken away for good. Have you ever asked yourself, why do I eat plenty of meat, fish, and eggs every day, but my muscles still don't feel any stronger? I hear this question all the time from patients over 60, and the answer lies in something called anabolic resistance. It means your body slowly becomes less responsive to the signals from protein. That's when your body needs a switch to turn muscle building back on, and that switch is leucine, a very special amino acid. Picture leucine as the foreman on a construction site. You might have hundreds of workers, all the other amino acids, but without a foreman, they just stand around. No one gets to work. I think of Evelyn, 66, who once told me that after a big meal, all she felt was heavy and bloated, never stronger. When I suggested she add just a little leucine to her morning coffee a few weeks later, she came back and said, "Doctor, for the first time in years, it feels like my muscles are actually listening to me again." Leucine doesn't just flip on the muscle building switch, it also protects you from the muscle breakdown that comes with age. It's like adding new bricks while keeping the old wall from crumbling. And here's the fascinating part: when you pair leucine with coffee, which already improves insulin sensitivity, the effect is even stronger. Each sip of coffee becomes a powerful signal to your body. It's time to rebuild your strength. Maybe you've got a little jar of cinnamon sitting in your kitchen, something you sprinkle on oatmeal or use for baking. But what most people don't realize is that Ceylon cinnamon, the gentler, safer kind, compared to cassia, can actually be a powerful ally for your muscles once you've passed 60. As we age, our muscles become more and more insulin resistant. It's like the doors to your muscle cells get locked shut and the nutrients you eat can't get in. Cinnamon acts like a tiny key, quietly unlocking those doors again. Just a pinch of Ceylon cinnamon in your morning coffee can improve insulin sensitivity by up to 20%. That means every gram of protein you eat, every supplement you take, is far more likely to actually reach your muscles instead of being wasted. I think of Helen, 70 years old, who once told me, "Doctor, I eat plenty, but I still feel weaker, like my body just isn't holding on to anything." After she started adding a little Ceylon cinnamon to her morning coffee, she came back a few months later and said with joy, "Now I can really feel the food staying with me. It's like my body is finally absorbing it." And the benefits don't stop there. Cinnamon also helps improve circulation, bringing oxygen and energy straight to your muscle fibers. Plus, its natural anti-inflammatory properties mean less soreness and fewer aches. A simple spice, yes, but in your coffee it becomes a quiet medicine, lifting your strength day after day. In medicine, it's not always just about what you take in. Sometimes it's about when you take it. Coffee on its own already has thousands of compounds that support your muscles, but when you pair it with protein at the right time, the effect can skyrocket. A study out of Copenhagen showed that drinking coffee before a protein-rich meal boosted muscle protein synthesis by nearly 50% compared to protein alone. Picture it like this: protein is the pile of bricks you need to build a strong wall of muscle. But if the gate is closed, those bricks just sit outside unused. Coffee acts like the gatekeeper. It opens the insulin door wide so those protein bricks can go straight in and get to work. I think of Thomas, 69, who always had eggs and oatmeal for breakfast, yet kept telling me, "Doc, I eat plenty, but I feel weaker every day." When I suggested he try having a cup of coffee before that protein-rich meal, just a few weeks later, he came back and said, "Now it feels like my body is actually using what I eat. I can get up from my chair so much easier." Sometimes the secret isn't piling on more and more supplements. It's simply putting the pieces in the right order at the right time. And after 60, that morning cup of coffee before breakfast might just be the difference between eating to fill your stomach and eating to truly rebuild your strength. A lot of folks think that keeping muscles strong after 60 is just about taking enough supplements or scooping in some extra protein powder. But there's something far more basic and often overlooked: water. Our muscles are about 70% water. Without enough hydration, all the collagen, all the creatine you take in can't really do their job. I remember Linda, 72, who came to me frustrated. She was taking her supplements every day but didn't feel much improvement. When I asked more questions, I found out she was only drinking 2 glasses of water a day. I had her spread out 6-8 glasses slowly throughout the day. A month later, she returned and said, "Doctor, the cramps are so much less now, and I wake up feeling lighter, refreshed." Think of your muscles like a sponge. When it's dry, it's stiff, brittle, easy to tear. But when it's soaked, it's elastic, flexible, ready to work. Water isn't some luxury supplement. It's right there in the glass in front of you. And sometimes it's the simplest things that form the true foundation of the strength you've been searching for. Have you ever noticed this? You have breakfast, your energy shoots up fast, and then just an hour or two later it crashes. You feel heavy, drained, your eyes fighting to stay open. That's your blood sugar riding a roller coaster. And after 60, those ups and downs are the silent enemy of your muscles because they block your body from really absorbing the nutrition you work so hard to get. That's why I always tell my patients, don't just sip coffee with a couple of supplements and skip breakfast. Add a little fiber, maybe a bowl of oatmeal, a few slices of apple, or a handful of greens. Fiber works like a traffic cop, slowing things down, keeping your blood sugar steady so your muscles have time to take in every drop of protein, every ounce of energy. I think of Daniel, 65, who used to drink nothing but black coffee in the morning. He told me, "Doc, by 10 a.m. I feel wiped out. I can't get anything done." When he tried adding oatmeal and a few berries alongside his coffee just a few weeks later, he came back and said, "For the first time in years, I don't feel like my energy abandons me halfway through the morning." Sometimes strength doesn't come from anything exotic or expensive. Sometimes it's as simple as a warm bowl of oats, a crisp apple, and that familiar cup of coffee by your side. There's one thing many people forget. Sleep is the body's secret laboratory. During the day you eat, you take your vitamins, maybe even add collagen, creatine, or leucine to your coffee. But all those raw materials only get turned into real muscle once you close your eyes and drift into deep sleep. I often tell my patients daytime is when you gather the supplies, but nighttime is when the house is actually built. If you're tossing and turning, never sinking into quality rest, it's like calling the construction crew back home before they've even started. The job never gets done. Muscles don't repair, energy isn't restored, and you wake up the next morning still tired, still weak. I think of Susan, 70 years old. She was faithful with her supplements but kept telling me, "Doc, I just don't feel stronger." When I looked deeper, I found out she stayed up late and often woke in the middle of the night. We made some changes: turn off the TV earlier, keep the bedroom quiet and calm, and take magnesium glycinate before bed. A few weeks later, she smiled and said, "For the first time in years, I woke up feeling like my body had been recharged." Sleep isn't wasted time. It's a gift, one that aging sometimes tries to steal. But with a few simple choices, you can reclaim it. And when you do, every morning becomes proof that your body can be stronger than it was the day before. You see, after 60, our strength doesn't just come from the gym or heavy workouts. It begins with the simplest things: a warm cup of morning coffee, a scoop of collagen, a drizzle of MCT oil, a sprinkle of cinnamon, or just remembering to drink enough water and give yourself the gift of deep, restful sleep. Put all those little pieces together, and what you get is a full picture of renewal. I've met so many people who believe aging is the end of strength, but every time I see the sparkle in a patient's eyes as they tell me, "Doc, I stood up from my chair without holding on, I carried a heavy bag, without my hands shaking," I'm reminded age is not the end. It's simply a new chapter one where we learn to care for our bodies with more wisdom, more gentleness. And I want you to ask yourself if just a few small changes, a few new choices could help me wake up each morning stronger than yesterday. Am I ready to start today? Remember, your body has never stopped working for you. Now it's time for you to work with it. So every night becomes a chance to rebuild, and every morning becomes proof that you're still getting stronger.